Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Frugal Noodle, the podcast dedicated to helping you understand money, finance, retirement, early or otherwise. And in today's episode, understanding how you can teach a child, preferably your child, about money. Now, as a disclaimer, this is not financial advice, simply me sharing as I learned. When setting out to teach a child about money, the most important thing is to not overwhelm them and make sure that you keep it fun. If it starts to dry out and it's just frustrating, then you're probably pushing it too far with them. And there's going to be some discomfort because it is a new concept to understand, depending on their age. And in doing so, you have to make sure that you're keeping a good pace that they can keep up with and stay interested with. Now, last week's episode, we talked about how different ages that we may find ourselves in affect our ability to retire. And one of those ages was 12 years old. So naturally, I thought, what if you weren't a 12-year-old, but maybe you had a 12-year-old or a 2-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever, any age really that's under 18 or maybe even over 18. What if you had a child that maybe isn't involved in understanding their financial life? The difference between adults that are exposed to money and finance at a younger age and adults that are not exposed to money and finance in their adolescence ends up that those that are exposed are more confident in money-making decisions and more respectable about their money. They respect their money more, is what I mean to say. They treat their money as a tool to achieve goals rather than ending up getting trapped in a debt cycle where they don't know how to get themselves out of because they don't understand money. So exposing your children to money earlier can help them in their adult life as long as the relationship with money is healthy in your house. If you and your significant other are fighting all the time about money, then money is going to have a very negative impact on your child's life and their adult life. So when you read about parenting and talking about money around children in general, it's often taboo to do so. But the idea behind that is that you're talking about money in a negative way. You're talking about how you might not meet bills, how you might not be able to do something that costs money and is fun with your children, because if you do that, then you can't afford groceries. This is a negative way to approach money with your children. If you're struggling with money and finance and your child is asking for things that cost money, there are ways to say no without saying we can't afford it. And I wanted to get that out front, because if you think you're in a situation where involving your child with money isn't something that you can do due to your financial standing, well, there are ways to involve them. That doesn't necessarily mean spending money, but the most important thing is to not surround money with a negative mindset. So just avoid doing that. But I'm going to start with basically the youngest age to introduce money to a child, and we'll just go up to when they're an adult. So let's start with about 2 to 3 years old for some ideas to teach valuable lessons when it comes to money. So the toddling years. Now, directly and indirectly is how I want to approach each of these ages. And directly at this age, you can play games of imagination that teach the concept of commerce. The imaginary grocery store with a cash register, products, and currency is an easy way to get the idea in a young mind that the way our society operates is by exchanging money for goods and services. At this age, you don't have to make it boring and dry about, negotiating a cheaper price or anything yet. Just make it fun. Show them that mommy and daddy go to the grocery store and that they, buy things with the money they've earned. Admittedly, this is different in a world where we don't have a pandemic, which is pushing us towards online orders and pickups, but you get the point. Our daughter has a little ice cream cart that has cards for specific orders and the cost for each of those orders. It's lighthearted and fun. It plays music and lights up and things like that. She doesn't really get the exchange portion of it yet, but as she grows into it, it will serve as this type of lesson in commerce. You want ice cream? It costs 3 coins or whatever. Now, indirect ways to involve them is to save the money they are gifted. They're too young to really make decisions about what they want to buy at this time. They can, especially when they're around 3 years old, but if you save up their money that they're gifted on birthdays and holidays, then you give them an opportunity later on to buy something that they're going to appreciate more. And at this time anyways, there's pretty much no toys that you'll buy them that are going to last them long enough that if you had just saved the money they earned and showed them it over the years, how much they've saved, they're going to appreciate that more than some toy that they're going to outgrow. Now, all of our daughter's money from birthdays or holidays is stored properly so she can see it someday in a couple of years and learn what the value of saving is, and even maybe make a decision with that money what she wants to do. Half of it she can put towards something she really wants, a toy of some sort, or she can save it all up for something that she'll know she'll want later on. Now, 4 to 5 years old, we're talking preschool. Directly, there are more games of imagination involving lessons in commerce. Store is a lot easier for them to understand and grasp, and you can start to show them how the real store really works by taking them shopping. Again, pending a pandemic. Teach them about ways to save from spending more at the store through deals and coupons. This is something they'll start to pick up on at this age. Explain why you might choose one brand one week over another the next through sales. And at this age, you can start to show them how chores lead to compensation that they can add to their savings that you've been storing for them over the years, and show them what that savings looks like. And this is why a glass jar works better than a ceramic piggy bank, in that it gives them a visual at a glance of how well their savings is building. They'll appreciate it more when they can actually see that progress. And then with that money, show them that the things they want cost money. And if they want to buy something, show them how this exchange works. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, don't make it negative if they can't afford it. Just explain it in a simple way that says this costs X amount of dollars, but you have Y amount of dollars, and that doesn't exceed X. So you can continue to save. And if they want to buy something that you can only buy online, then make the exchange between you and them, and you can use your card. So if something's $10, like a doll on Amazon, and they have $12, they can give you the $10, you will buy it for them, and then they'll have $2 left over. These lessons, you think, why would I take money from my child if I can just afford it for them? It's an important lesson to understand that if they spend money, it's gone. It's gone because they exchanged it for that product. It's not a punishment to take the money for something that they want online and show them that the money's gone. And basically, it just shows them that when they buy something, you certainly end up with less money based on the price of that thing, whether it's online or not. And that's why in this world of online shopping, it's important to establish that through physical money, where they give you the money and it's gone. Now, indirectly, you can start a savings account for them and start to involve them a little in storing their money in ways that make it grow rather than stagnating, such as high yield savings accounts. Again, this is all going to be managed by you, but you can make a thing out of it where you go to the bank and show them the deposit. Now, ages 5 to 9, we're talking kindergarten and most of elementary school. Directly, you can teach them entrepreneurship in fun ways, like the lemonade stand, yard sales, chicken breeding. That's what we plan with our little homestead life. We'll be teaching our daughter about how she can breed chickens, eggs specially, special breeds, and sell the babies to make money. We've done this in the past, not much, but we've done it before. And we think it'd be a fun business idea for someone like her, where she lives on a small farm. And when you show them that starting a business costs money, that they can take a loan from mom and dad to get started, and that there's a challenge and opportunities for success and failure, they are rewarded in ways that introduce them to finance and teach them independence. I'm not saying that you need to charge them credit against the loan or anything like that, although credit is something that you should teach them eventually. But if starting a lemonade stand costs $10, say, I will contribute to this business. At the end of it, your profits exceed $10, you make $20. You have to give $10 back to mommy and daddy. Just to explain how that exchange works. Again, it's not a punishment. It's just showing them how this world and how money works in this world. Now, indirectly, you can teach them more about how saving at the bank works. Again, taking them to the bank with their money and showing them in a more efficient manner how to save their money, such as like mentioned, the high yield savings account. Now, 7 to 12 years old, late elementary school to early middle school, there's some crossover here, obviously, from the last one, but directly, this is a great age for them to start learning the collection of assets as investments. Precious metals like silver are fun, and we involve our daughter with that. Trading cards and other similar stores of value are all fun throughout childhood. Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I did all of those when I was young. I didn't have the best hand to hold in understanding how to take good care of those things, but there's no denying that they're worth a lot of money now if they were taken care of. Around this age, though, this is when the understanding of the store of value starts to bloom. You can also put them in charge of their own entrepreneurial summer businesses in a way that they're more independent than the lemonade stand. They can actually lead the yard sale and actually exchange the goods for the money. They don't have to necessarily be holding hands with you to run those businesses, but make it more about planning the businesses. How are they going to make the idea of this business more enticing for you to invest in and get off the ground with them? This will teach them kind of the business plan mindset. Again, you're not expecting world-class business plan mock-ups or anything like that. It's just an idea to start getting in their head. How do they execute a plan that they have going on in their head? It'll teach them how to plan things rather than just say, wouldn't it be cool if this toy had a propeller on top of it? Sure, it would be, but how would you do it? Why would you do it? Who would you do it for? You start asking questions like that, and then they get more entrepreneurial as they grow. Now, indirectly, you can open a custodial account where you act as the custodian and make investments for their future. This is a great thing to open before this age, and we plan to do it for our daughter earlier than this age. But at this age, I would recommend doing it at the latest, because this is when you can actually start to involve them and not struggle to keep their attention with it, because it's, kind of boring stuff looking at a brokerage account on the computer at a younger age than this. But you can start to show them the businesses that they know of, like Disney, and show them their stock symbol and how it's progressed over the years. Now, 13 to 18, we're talking high school. Tough years for sure. But directly and early on in high school, around that time, you can start making investing decisions together. And again, make it fun by using stocks that they know of. Again, Disney, or maybe Apple, Samsung, things like that they have some awareness of. And you can also show them how stocks perform over the years, and they'll start to really understand, like Amazon, where it went from $2 a share back when it first went public and is now worth over $3,000 a share. Show them what it would have been like if they had 20 shares of that. Things like that really amaze the finance mind that we have in us when we look at what could have been. And then we look around at what is right now and imagine new investment opportunities that might do the same thing. At this time, it might be fun for them to pick some of those stocks and just do a few to invest into, but remind them that investing into individual stocks is less safe and more volatile, and that throwing all your money in one stock is like putting all your eggs in one basket. And if you drop that basket, all those eggs are broken. So I would also get them heavily involved. Maybe not them, but you make sure that most of their money is going towards ETFs and index funds, more diversified symbols that contain several of the stocks that they already know, and show them what that is and what that all means. And indirectly, turning their savings into investments that will benefit them when they are an adult, and then showing them the value of patience when it comes to investing. This is something that you may have already began doing when they were younger, and you can say, at this age, you had this much saved, but I invested it into this, and now it's worth this. And it shows them that their own money is already growing. Now, later on in high school and directly, depending on your plans, you can show them the value of a car that does just what they need it to, and it isn't flashy, or how they can spend their money that they've saved on a car to buy something that they want more, and also the implications of making that decision. They could spend every dollar that they've saved and end up with a nicer car than what you were willing to buy them, if that's what you choose to do, But now they have no money for the gas to get from point A to B, or to go anywhere that costs money with their car, etc. Indirectly, you can start prepping them for college and teaching them the point of avoiding college debt, how long debt will linger with them if they choose a route that incurs a large amount of debt. Now, beyond 18, directly teaching them further about debt and the implications of it, how to establish their credit score, respect it, and not wreck it. More importantly, how to not become dependent on credit. They call it a credit card because if they called it a debt card, people would confuse it with a debit card when it's written out, and obviously calling it what it is makes it harder for banks to keep you in the endless debt cycle. A secured credit card from their own money is a great starting place. Co-signing, a lot of people do that, but I never had a co-signer for me, and for that reason, I learned more about debt in a hard way that taught me more in the end, and certainly didn't make anything easier. And a lot of people don't have co-signers, so I'm not moping or anything, but I think that teaching them how to establish credit through a secured credit card is more prone to teach them a lesson than not. And I've explained what a secured credit card is in the past. Again, it's simply putting the money of that credit card's limit. So, for example, $300 credit card limit is based off of $300 that you have given that bank, and you can make charges against that line of credit and keep paying it off. And when you close the credit card, you get the $300 back. Now, indirectly, the investments you've made over the years for them can be given to them at 18 to do with as they wish. It could be 21 depending on the state you're in, so make sure you look into that. You can offer guidance to them with what you think the best decision is, like waiting until they're out of college to decide if they want to keep investing it or put it down on a house or towards an apartment, etc. Or you can just hold off until they're out of college before you give them access to the money, or maybe empower them by deciding to use the money towards a business idea they want to explore before college. The possibilities for the money invested throughout their childhood are endless, and you can help guide them or let them learn the lessons of money the hard way by making the decisions themselves. We're pretty undecided on this. We'll likely gauge it at the time and determine if our children need any help making decisions with their money when the time comes. But more importantly, we'll always be there for advice if they need it. Now, any of these milestones for a given age and things that you can do obviously aren't tied to specific ages. Some of these things you can definitely do earlier. Some of these things you can hold off until later. We'll be making investments for our daughter well before I mentioned in this timeline, but these are just the ideas that at these ages, delaying any further just means you're not going to achieve the greatest outcome, which not a lot of people do things like this for their children anyways. So anything is better than nothing, of course. Now, some other general lessons to teach throughout their childhood and life. One would be just being content, looking at what they have and acknowledging that what they have is enough for what they need, not getting caught up and wanting more and more and never being satisfied. Sure, their ugly first car isn't the greatest, but as long as it's continuing to get them where they need to be and not constantly needing work, then they shouldn't go replacing it at the first chance. Identifying wants over needs. Beyond being content, separating wants from needs is an important skill that a lot of young people and even older people lack. Living day by day, finding new things that we feel we need is an unhealthy way to live, and not just financially. If we're never satisfied with our physical desires, we're going to struggle to be satisfied in any number of other ways. This means stepping back and saying, I need to stop wanting so much and appreciate that my needs are met. Appreciating simple living. Somewhat of an expansion on these first two skills, but wanting to live simply makes living frugally easier and productive. Just because you make the cheapest purchases you can doesn't make you frugal. More often than not, it's about making fewer purchases in general. And simple living means appreciating and being entertained by simpler things, not cluttering your home and life. I suggest trying to fortify a healthier relationship with nature in your children at a younger age, and keeping up with that relationship as they grow. Appreciation for nature and spending time in it is where we, my family, find our desire to live simply strengthened. Being charitable, and in more ways than one, not just in how contributing money to charitable causes is a healthy way to solidify continued growth, but how other charitable acts can do the same, such as volunteering for causes that they believe in, that's still being charitable, even if it's not donating money. And when they're young without a family of their own, they have the most time to begin doing activities like this. And probably the most important, don't fall in love with money. I will make my children aware of how to understand and appreciate money as the tool it is, one that can buy you time and give you control over your independence. But I will also keep my children informed of the fact that I do not love money. If anything, I despise it and how it is a tool to prevent you from controlling your time and independence. I do not want anyone, especially my children, thinking that I'm even somewhat enamored with money. And I especially don't want them to fall into that mindset either. Some investment accounts that you can look into opening for your child: a Roth IRA. Similar to an adult's Roth IRA, this account cannot exceed $6,000 per year in contributions. And contributions, whether they're from you or your child, cannot exceed your child's earning for the year from employment such as mowing lawns, babysitting, or snow shoveling. They must also have employment to open a Roth IRA, even if it's, again, through those independent chores that they take on. A 529 college savings account. No annual contribution limit and can be designed around their age or customized for different investment paths. A custodial brokerage account. This would be similar to working with Vanguard for your own brokerage account, but you'd be doing it for your child. The account will be under your name until they are 18 or 21, depending on your state. Personally, I like this route because it gives a parent control over better investment opportunities. The opportunities to blend volatile and safe investing are more abundant, and you can show your child how you're making the decisions until they're a little older and can help make them with you. Going this route, I plan to pad the account with index funds that I know are safe, slow growers, and when my daughter is old enough, I'll let her pick a couple of stocks throughout the year to buy up and watch grow. There are numerous other investing accounts that I didn't mention that I just don't find to be great at growing in any better way than the ones I've already mentioned, other than combating inflation, which is good. But you want these investments for your children to grow beyond inflation and teach lessons. If you're curious about those other types of accounts like CDs or savings bonds, for instance, then you can Google how to invest for your child and accounts like that will come up. But their slim breadth for growth is a turnoff for me. And even though I've mentioned it, high yield savings accounts are also an account that I will likely not resort to for much. If my daughter has a goal that she's saving up for, then maybe we'll resort to a high yield savings account. But again, the growth is just not there to really call it an investment. Note that it's important not to look at these ideas and imagine a life ahead of today where every day is about money with your child. It isn't, and it shouldn't be. They need to enjoy being whatever age they are at a given time. And overwhelming them with the worry of money will leave a sour taste in their mouth on the subject. So again, make it fun and don't let it consume all of your time together. It doesn't need to be even one day out of every week. It can just be one day out of the month that you look at it, or more, depending on the frequency that you're aiming for. Just don't make it dry and boring, and don't surround it with any negative thoughts or energy. You don't want to make money a sour subject for them, because then they'll struggle with it for some of their or all of their adult life. But thank you for listening to this episode of Frugal Noodle. Follow the show wherever you get podcasts so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes. And be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave a review, because it definitely helps the show grow. Be sure to follow Frugal Noodle on social media. Links are in the show notes below. And the music for this episode was produced by CARBS. This is Cody. Thank you for listening to this episode. I will see you next week.